Little did I know at the time you had already won an Oscar.
That's correct.
And you just won an Emmy. So tell us about the Oscar that you won way back when.
All right, to start with, I won the Oscar in 1979, and it was in the field of animation. It was for scientific and technical achievement. Basically, what we invented was a machine that facilitated the production of animation. And what that means is it was right at the beginning of a videotape. So we took a videotape recorder and stopped it frame by frame to record pencil tests. Now, in animation, a pencil test is pre-checking your work before it's committed to final production. There's 12 drawings a second. It's a lot of artwork. And so the only way prior to us was either the old flip book method or you'd have to commit it to film. And to commit it to film, you would send it to an animation photographer who had an Oxberry or an Acme animation crane, which, by the way, Acme was the word that was what the Roadrunner,
right.
He always got Acme.
Of course.
And that's where the Acme came from, was the Acme
right.
animation crane.
Right.
They're about 16 feet high. And so you would have to take it to an animation photographer. He'd photograph it, send it off to the lab. It would get processed, developed. You'd pick it up 3 to 4 days later with a minimum lab charge of about $500. And this was back in the 70s, so it's cost prohibitive. Then you'd pick that up at Photocam. I was in Hollywood, etc. Pick it up at Photocam, bring it back to your studio, thread it up on your 16 or your 35. And if it worked, you were off to the races. If it didn't, you had to do it all over again. And so it was a time issue and a cost issue. So everybody resorted to the old flipbook method until I came along. And I had seen a time-lapse video recorder in somebody's studio, asked a few questions, made a few tests, and came up and said, you know, if we put a manual button on this machine, we'd have ourselves a product. So what we did was we took at the time, a bank security system. It was a time-lapse recorder that they recorded, you know, for banks. You could get, 12 hours of information in 10 minutes or something like that.
Now, was this video or film?
This was video.
Okay.
And they also, at the time, shot them up in satellites to do weather reports.
Okay.
And that's all they were used for. And we came in, adapted it, took about 2 years to come up with it and put a single-frame button on that machine. And now you can photograph 800 drawings
right.
immediately and play it back right now.
How long was the technology that you developed, was it unique and that nothing new had come along?
First of all, the technology, the company, it was called Geyer Odetics out of Anaheim. Uh-huh. And their technology was 5 years ahead of everybody else in the video field. So we had an edge on the market. And we were the only ones in the game at the time. And we were so revolutionary. I had went to school with somebody who ended up as one of the top animators at Disney. And his name was John Pomeroy. And I called John up and got an appointment at Disney. And this was in 1976. And Disney looked at it, bought it. They did their purchase. Actually, they didn't purchase it. They leased it. They leased it for 6 months, took it back into WED, tried to reverse engineer it, and went, nope, we can't build this. So they were our first customer. And from that point on, all I had to do was call up the studio and tell them what we had. They'd say, who's got one? And you go, Disney. All right, come on in.